Book Buzz, HarperCollins Book Buzz. Check it out. Book Buzz, HarperCollins Book Buzz. Brought to you by Library.
And here we are. After all that time, you thought we weren't going to show up, but we did. Hello, everyone. How are you? How are you out there in Library Land in Bookville? Lainey and Essie are in Bookville. I am in the forest with my trees and my little drunk gnomes and my Willie Vlotton book. The Night Always Comes, which we'll talk about in a minute or a couple minutes. Anyway, hi, Lainey, Essie, how you doing?
Doing well. Pretty good.
Sweet. So today we don't have an author to interview. That's fine. Today is a very exciting day because we are going to talk about books. We're going to talk about the recently held Public Library Association conference, which was amazing. And we're going to talk about the latest selection in our Galley Club. People are loving our Galley Club. Oh, did you just drum roll? Very cool.
Did.
Oh my God. You know, I have a drum set on my phone. I could actually do a little. Well, honestly, the feedback we've gotten from all of you and also librarians who are at PLA has been really wonderful. So that makes us happy because this is really a book club for librarians. And the diff here is that they're books that aren't out yet. They're in galley form. And we're stretching this out over several weeks where we announce it. And then we talk to some folks behind the scenes, editor, maybe a publisher, maybe an audiobook narrator. We've had all that on so far. And then we end up talking with the author themselves about the book. So we're going to announce our third selection. One thing, well, let's make the announcement first, and then we can talk about the little tweak in timing. What do you say, you guys?
Don't bury the lead. They're going to come for us with pitchforks. They've been excited.
I shan't bury the lead. I shan't. All right. So the next title in our Galley Club series is, drumroll, and boom, More Than You'll Ever Know by Katie Gutierrez. And we are so excited. This book is getting tons of buzz.
Well, I want to point out real quick the two people that actually guessed it with our hints, which was really fun. It was Jenna Fryville and Jennifer Winberry. Congratulations, you guys called it.
Well,
can't wait to tell you.
Why don't you? What were the clues, and then what were the clues?
Oh, let's see. First one. Let me pull it up. You know, we have these on our Instagram stories and on Twitter, so they're always available to see. Hint number one, we're thrilled to read another debut author. Is that such a crime? Hint number two, how can something so sweet become something so secretive and then so deadly? I guess we really don't know the people we love. I think that was what kind of tipped people off. But hint number three, which Jenna responded today, which was awesome. We're going to TLA. Maybe we'll see our Texas-based April Galley Club author at the conference. So good job, guys.
Nice. So these little hints get dropped in, and we encourage you to try and guess what the title is that we've chosen. And indeed, as I just mentioned, More Than You'll Ever Know by Katie Gutierrez is the next book in our series. And this is about a woman who leads a double life. Now, I think that this is kind of neat because this book, you couldn't keep this galley on the table at PLA in Portland. We'll talk about that in a second. right? We couldn't, the quicker we put them out, the quicker they went. People had heard about the book. We've been talking about the book. It was buzzed. And what's kind of cool about this is it's about a woman. I mean, typically you hear these stories about men who have these secret lives and secret families. And, you know, now in this case, it's the woman. The woman has the secret family. She's running these two, she split herself in these two different lives with these two different families. And it's just so ripe for bad things to happen. And they do. I don't want to give away much, but that's kind of, sort of the framework. There's so much more to it though, and I don't want to give a ton away. But what's kind of cool too is that there's this true crime writer in the center of the story who becomes obsessed with telling this woman's story. So it's a double life, and then there's a murder, and there's a crime writer who is trying to figure out, how did this happen in the first place? How did this become a thing? So do you guys want to say anything about it before we talk a little bit more about format?
I really loved it. And I think, yeah, I'm glad you said the true crime, because it goes back and forth in time in the 80s, 90s and present day. And so the true crime writer like really wants to be like wants to be like a really successful, like get into the dark stories, but instead she's writing these like silly kind of articles or like clickbait. And so I think it's a great exploration of what true crime is and what's the thing that draws us to it. Is it something like, do you just like to know the drama, or is it something more in deep down of like, you want to understand someone's psyche? So I think that's probably the best exploration of that theory, and why women in particular are really interested in it, that I've read in a long time. And I also, and so like as you go back and forth in time, as she gets closer to Lori, the person who's living the double life in her past, she like starts to realize that maybe the crime didn't happen the way people are saying it did. So you got a mystery. Yeah, it's really cool.
All right. Now, so you guys know that this is the first part where we reveal the title, tell you a little bit about it, why you need to read it. And then by the time we come around to having our conversation with the author, which is really your opportunity to have your discussion with the author, there could be spoiler alerts all over the joint. So one thing that we have heard is that you need a little bit more time to read the books in our Galley Club. So because these dates are set, this is the schedule for this book. But going forward, we're going to build in an extra week reading time. All right. So the schedule right now is that next Tuesday we'll meet the editor. And perhaps a few other people providing intel on the book and how it came to be and why it was chosen and why it is just taking Harper by storm. And then the following week, you will get a chance to ask questions, provide comments, and just have a healthy book club discussion with the author herself. So mark your calendars, right? And then, as I say, going forward after this, we're going to build in another week for you to have time to read the book. So next week is the team meeting with the editor, and that's the 12th. And then on the 19th, you will have time to discuss with the author herself. So the 12th and the 19th. And then the following Tuesday will be at the Texas Library Association, where this author will also be. So super psyched. All right, guys, what else we have?
I believe we have our PLA chat.
Book buzz.
Let's recap PLA. Done.
Well, one thing, there's a question about audio, and I know that there will be audio. I don't know if it'll be like an ALC, but I'm looking into it. I'll try to find the answer for you guys.
We'll find out and we'll put it in the chat. Good. Are there other questions? Anybody else have anything they want to ask? They're pretty good. In Crowdcast land and Facebook land, everybody's good? All right. Well, super, super excited. And we hope to see you all next Tuesday. And by the way, the editor is Jessica Williams, who has edited some phenomenal books. We are such huge fans of hers. So, yeah, I don't know. Lainey, do you want to talk about Jessica for 2 seconds? She's one of our faves.
Yeah, we love Jessica Williams. I say she's my editor crush because anything she does, I'm like, everything you tell me to read, I love it. Like every single thing. She has such great books. She did My Dark Vanessa. That's one that's coming to mind. She's done so many more though. And she has been on the podcast a lot because she just did Counterfeit. That's the book with the counterfeit handbags. And she just had a podcast episode with Kirsten Chen. So go check that out. You can hear from Jessica and kind of get a feel. If you don't know her on the podcast before, because she's been several times, then you'll get a feel for how she is. And she's so smart and just knows exactly what she's talking about. And yeah, I'm excited to have her on.
Yeah. As you just go back to the book one more time, please. To More Than You'll Ever Know. Because it's just, I also love that jacket. I think that jacket art is awesome. Pretty cool. So, all right. Very excited about this. All righty. Now, on to PLA. So look, PLA was the first conference that in-person conference for us, well, for many, first library conference. And yes, there was a toe in the water, and we decided to dip our toes in and go to Portland. And let me tell you, we were so glad that we did. It was such a good I don't know, just a good segue back into the land of the living. We saw friends, we had a great time. So many librarians were there. I'm so glad we didn't miss it. And I hope I'm not making anybody feel bad for not going. If they couldn't go, didn't want to go, were afraid to go, I was all those things too, trust me. But masks were on all the time, and you got used to it, and you kept on going. And honestly, I think the registration was close to 5,000, which is what it was in Nashville 2 years ago. So first it was like 3,000, 3,100, 32,000, then it was like close to 4,000. And then the latest news was closer to 5,000. So super glad we went. We had 5 authors at the show. We had 2 virtual authors, and we did a couple buzzes. And as I say, we just saw so many wonderful people, our librarian pals and publishing pals. We haven't seen anybody. So this was just great. And we got to hang out and go check out Portland. We went to Powell's. You see the picture of Essie and Lainey at Powell's Books. So cool. You guys want to say anything about Powell's?
We were there for like an hour and we still didn't see the whole thing. It was amazing. Could have stayed there for a couple of days.
Wait, hold on. I don't know if you can see it through my background, but I got you can't. Anyway, it's like this, maybe a little, it's a postcard,
Okay.
and it has all of the cherry blossoms, and yeah, it's great.
Oh yeah, I have a nice little candle that I got here from Pals. I don't know if you guys can see it through there, but it's like this was a cat that apparently existed within the store for a very long time, and they made a candle dedicated to it. It was amazing. The whole trip was awesome, but that was probably one of the highlights.
Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, so let's keep going, and we'll tell you a little bit about, do we have more slides from PLA, or are we just talking? Okay, so we did speak about, I interviewed John Searles and AJ Vidal separately, and they both appeared on a PLA's virtual conference, and that was great. It got, by the end of the first day, which was a short day, they were hundreds and hundreds of views. PLA was very happy, and so were we. John Searles Her Last Affair is such a good twisty book. If you haven't read it, it's more than just twist. There's fun, there's love, there's heart, there's looking back, looking forward. I don't know. This is not a typical psychological thriller. It's more than that. It's about this woman who's sort of living in the shadows of this old drive-in movie theater that she and her husband ran, and people that come into her life at a very strange time and bring with it, I don't know, there's these people who are seemingly not connected, but maybe they are connected, and I loved it. And it's funny too. I don't know how he manages to do it. He's a fantastic writer. If you haven't read his books, please do. Her Last Affair is phenomenal. Chris Bojalian. There are so many great raves for this book. So Her Last Affair is just so good. Heart, twisty, funny, creepy. And Miss Chloe by A.J. Verdell. This is all about A.J. Verdell's friendship with Toni Morrison. Need I say any more? I mean, it was just such great tidbits that she gave me, and there was so much that I wish I could have kept in there. They're both half-hour interviews, and you get a real sense of these books and these authors. And with Miss Chloe, you get a real sense of the relationship between A.J. Verdell and Toni Morrison, who blurbed her book, The Good Negress, way back when, and it was she didn't blurb a lot, and it changed her life. And that book is still in print 27 years later or something. Not because of the blurb, but the blurb I think lit the fuse. The book, it's still in print because the book is amazing. But Toni Morrison and A.J. Verdell had quite a friendship over the years. So if you're a fan of either, or even if you've not, you would be well served to learn about both of these women by reading Miss Chloe. So those were our two virtual interviews. Wow.
You did a great job interviewing both of them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really loved it. I loved both of them. Anyway, yeah. A.J. Verdell is so cool. Beautiful. All right. You guys want to talk about our author signings?
Yeah. So let me find my list. We're starting with Juhei. So I don't know. Am I talking about Juhei? I can't remember.
It doesn't matter.
Kate.
I mean, these
Okay.
are our authors that were on site who came to the booth and spoke, signed, sang. So, I mean, we could talk about them as we are going to be talking about them on Thursday. So, want to do that? Lainey, you can kick it off with Kate Quinn, and then Lainey, take it from there.
Sure. Kate Quinn came to PLA, and I've never had that many people come to the booth and be like, Kate Quinn's gonna be? Like, they were just so excited. And she had a constant line. It was crazy. And then she met up with Vanessa Riley, who also signed, and that's their lovely photo there because they're so excited to have their books in front of them. So it was kind of a fun meetup. But then she also did a panel with Library Reads, and it was fantastic. It was a hybrid event. And so we had two authors virtually, and then Rebecca Vanook, and then we had I guess 3 on the panel, 3 or 4 that were there in person. And it really was great. Like, I think this is a new turn in the way we do events. We had a hybrid section, and I think that's probably our first hybrid event that I'm aware of. And so I think it went really well. And they all spoke about their books, and it was lovely. But Kate had a really cool thing to say about librarians in general, because her book is about a librarian. I thought it was very sweet, and everybody, it moved everyone. And I think if you were in that room, everyone was walking out saying that was one of the best events. They loved it so much. And I think it was a great combination of library reads and library love. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in Diamond Eye, it's about a librarian who becomes a sharpshooter, and what an amazing story this is. You kind of can't believe it. I mean, it is historical fiction, but the research she did on this woman and what this woman became, she became bestie with Eleanor Roosevelt, because that's the thing that happens. And it's a crazy, amazing book. So, but Kate Quinn she's unbelievable. She does research like nobody's business, and just tells it in a way that's so fascinating, but it is a fascinating story. So that's Diamond Eye. Yeah, she was great. And Essie, you want to talk about Vanessa Riley?
Yeah. I really like that picture of the two of them there, so I wanted to throw it into our slide. But Vanessa Riley was also really great. She also had a really long line, and it was a trial to get her galleys there, but it was really, really great when we did, because she was happy and her fans were happy, and it was just a really good time. And even after she left, she still had a couple galleys that she took the time to sign for us to give out, even when she was gone. And one of her fans that came up, she was so disappointed and sad to see that she missed her in person, but absolutely thrilled to get one of those signed galleys. So it was nice to see that kind of energy that happens when people meet up with their favorite writers. So
Yeah. And this is another historical fiction that's based on the Haitian Revolution. And so she had a lot of really interesting conversations with people that came up to get the book signed. And as Essie said, Essie, worked her magic with our marketing folks to get that printed in there. It was really, really cool. So yeah, Vanessa Riley is great. She had 3 different signings of 3 different books at 3 different booths. Amazing. Kensington and Baker and Taylor and HarperCollins. She's wonderful. If you don't know Vanessa Riley, I don't know why you don't. Now,
Talk about 2 hardworking historical fiction writers, both of them. Kate Quinn
no
and-
joke. That's so true. That is so true. And then we had the mystery program. Lainey, you were at that, and then Lainey, Essie, you ran in and checked it out too. You want to talk about that real quick, and we'll move on?
Yeah, Daniel Nia and Meg Gardner, they spoke on the mystery panel, and Meg Gardner, who she did Heat 2 with Michael Mann, they've written it together, and her speech was fascinating, like what she did to research for this book, but she also gave like the most heartfelt talk to librarians about everything that's going on in the world and what librarians are doing to save the world, and the people in it. So we actually have part of the speech that we're going to put up on Library Love Fest. So that's coming soon. We'll share it with you. And Daniel Neo was so great as well. Everyone just like, both of their talks were fascinating, and their books at the end, everyone was like, I have to read that. And the line, I'm not even kidding, went all the way around and almost circled like at least halfway to the room. It was massive. Everyone was so excited to watch this. And actually, another person excited to watch this was Juhae Kim, who came to sign in that first photo. She was telling us that she's online friends, like author friends with Daniel, but she's never met him. And I was like, oh, he lives in Portland. She's like, he lives here? I do too. And so they met, she came to the panel and heard it and got to meet him. So it was like kind of nice that we got to bring authors together. It was fun.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then we wrapped it up with the luncheon, with the PLA luncheon, where Willie Vlotton, who we adore, he spoke. Well, first he sang at the booth. He signed at the booth, and then he came. The line was huge, and then we brought him over to the luncheon, and there were 175 people there. It was packed. And he lives in Portland. His latest book, The Night Always Comes, over there and here, is set in Portland. And it was, so he talked about the book. He talked about libraries, and he talked about the Reno Public Library. He said if he won the lottery and had all the money in the world, he would buy the Reno Library, the Reno Public Library, and not change one thing about it, and make sure that it always stayed exactly the way it is, because it's the most beautiful thing, the most beautiful building, and it is beautiful. It's very different, and there were people there nodding their heads. They knew exactly what he was talking about. So he's not just somebody saying how much he loves libraries. This is a speech that we will also be putting up on Library Love Fest, because it was just so wonderful. How it saved him, and it gave him a safe place. He wasn't a great student. He was a kind of a loner, and this is where he went, and this is where he became so many different things in his mind, and then ultimately became the writer that he is today. And his books are wonderful books. We absolutely adore this man. This last book, The Night Always Comes, made the library reads list, and with great reason. It is a terrific book. Sometimes he tells the stories of sort of the downtrodden, or people who are trying to make their way. Sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. if you've never read him, start with The Night Always Comes and then work your way back, because God, he just writes a great book and he sings a great song. He's a songwriter. He brought his guitar and he sang and he talked and people were on their feet, and it was just the best thing ever, because it's just so great to bring him to people who love him, and there were massive fans there, but also people who had not heard him, not read him, and now are really Blanton fans, and that's everything. So there we go. Lainey, I know you want to say
Hooray.
you adore him.
Oh, I do. You said it perfectly. The line was crazy, and he sat there and talked to every single person, and they really, I like walking back and forth in line. It was interesting to hear people talking. Like one person was like, I've never read it before and I didn't know. And somebody was like, yeah, he has this book, like seeing fans of his and then newcomers in line get to know each other. That was really fun. So
Yeah. And this book is, if you haven't read it, as I say, set in Portland, and it's about a woman who is living in the house that she sort of grew up in, and there's with her mother who's troubled, and she also lives with her developmentally disabled brother, and she has a chance to buy this house that they have been renting, and this is the story of what this woman Lynette has to do or tries to do, despite all odds, to finally get a piece of land and call it her home. And Willie talked all about Portland and the inequity. I mean, there's it's not a secret. The homeless situation is crazy. It's tent city, and yet these real estate prices are out of control. What is going on? What's going on everywhere? But this is Portland, and this is Lynette's story. And this is The Night Always Comes, and I hope that you'll pick it up and read it. It's a slim book, but let me tell you, powerful. All right, so that was PLA. If you were there, it was great to see you, and if you weren't, well, no, I hope that you feel like you were there. And we have anything that that we're talking about that you want to read, just let us know. We'll get it your way. Now it's 2:35. Talk about some books.
Before we do that, there was a question that somebody asked. Jean wants to know, will Kate Quinn be at TLA? Unfortunately, not.
yeah, I wrote in there, just make sure to follow newsletters. So when we have our official list for TLA, we've got some good ones coming, not Kate Quinn, but some good ones coming. Sign up for our newsletter and you'll know all about it very soon.
Yeah, we have a lot of authors at that. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions before we move on? Okay, and let's move on and briefly talk about some books.
Okay, ready. Okay, Julie 2. This is the second book from Julie, and her first one was The Donut Trap, and that was her debut. It was a library reads pick. It was super beloved. It was one of the top 10 most anticipated romance of November 2021. And she's back with a really fun one, but we have an office romance, which if you've just watched the Hating Game movie, you're ready for another one. But this is a little different, and it's got that great Meg Cabot quote. So anywhere Meg Cabot leads me, I will follow. But I love Circling Back to You, which is just very work centric, and you know exactly what you're getting into. And in this story, we have Candace, who it does kind of behind the scenes number crunching at a realty firm. And she kind of starts moving up the corporate ladder, but she has kind of a complicated relationship with her elderly estranged father. And she needs a new beginning. And so she's kind of going in between work and her social life and trying to figure herself out. And she always kind of leans on her favorite coworker and co-conspirator, Matt. And he's the top broker with the firm. And so he comes from a loving Filipino family and he's looking to settle down. So they're kind of different they're the same in the job space, but a little different in the personal lives. And when he goes back to his hometown, he enlists Candace to pretend it's his girlfriend for a family gathering, which we love that trope too. And yeah, so putting them in the same spot with that makes for some love connections, and I'll leave it at that. But we're very excited to have another book from Julie, and you know, it was a library reads pick, the last one, so consider this when it comes out in July, so you have until June 1st to read and get your books in.
All right. Oh, Invisible Storm. Yeah, I talked about this at PLA. This is Jason Kander. This is his story about suffering with PTSD as a result of being in the military. The author is, he's one of, I don't know, what did they say? It was like 12%. I think it was 12% of people who have served in the military have come back with PTSD. And so this is his story. It's becoming more and more talked about. He said that this is the book that he would have needed, but wasn't available to him. And so this is the book that he chose to write to help himself, sort of as a catharsis, but also to help others, and sort of like attempt to dispel the shame of PTSD. He didn't even know he had it, or he just kept it to himself. He was a real mover and shaker, and still is. But back when Obama was giving his final interview at the Oval Office, somebody asked him, who's the person that gave him hope for the future of the company, and he said Jason Kander. That's the first name that came to his mind. And at first, Jason Kander became politically active after having served, and then he thought about running for president, and then took that away, and then announced his bid for mayor of Kansas City, where they were sure he would win that. But he was battling PTSD all this time. He served for 11 years with this. From his service in Afghanistan, and he was like, he had suicidal thoughts and depression, and then he dropped out of the mayor's race too, and finally he sought help. And so this is the story about how he faced all of the things that were he was dealing with internally, and so brave. And as I say, he wrote this book not only for himself but for people who needed it. So he writes of what sadly he knows, and he's the president of the Veterans Community Project, which is a national nonprofit organization. So you can check him out. He's on a podcast called The Majority 54, very popular, and he lives in Kansas City with his family. So that's Invisible Storm, a soldier's memoir of politics and PTSD.
Okay, Poster Girl by Veronica Roth. This comes out in October 18th to be precise. So that gives us a lot of time to read it, or in my opinion, just get more excited about it, because this is really great. This is Veronica's second foray into adult fiction after The Chosen Ones. And of course, after her mildly successful Divergent series for teens. I don't know if anyone's heard it before, but of course we all have. And this story plays strong to her talent for writing stories that are about power and privilege and what divides us, and ultimately what we figure out that's worth fighting for, which is just figuring out who we are as a person. Anyway, so we have Poster Girl now, and the subject matter is perfect for her Divergent readers who have grown up, especially in a society where they're all eager to participate and examine social ills and unchecked privilege and try to make a change for the better. So diving into this story, Sonia Cantor was the face of the delegation, an oppressive surveillance state that challenges undesirable conduct by putting severe punishment on them and offers sanctioned behavior, rich rewards. So sounds a little too close to home sometimes, but that's kind of what good dystopian fiction is all about. So posters of Sonia are up everywhere. She is literally the poster girl for this behavior, for this regime. She is just known for being the face of the whole thought process and the whole belief system behind all of this. And years later, after a violent revolution, 27-year-old Sonia is serving a life sentence. And that's what she gets for being the face of this very oppressive, for being the face of the oppressors, essentially. So she's stuck in a prison called the Aperture, which is very fitting because they consider it a gap in their society and their history. And then Alexander Prince comes along, and you know they're going to have a history, and they do. And he's working with the new government now, but that betrayal against the old government during the revolution got his family and her family killed. And I think that would be enough for anybody to kind of walk away from this person, but he does offer her a deal. If she can track down a girl that the delegation reassigned to a different family, Sonia will be pardoned. So it's a deal that she can't refuse, because freedom and absolution, that's suddenly possible for somebody who thought it would never be possible. And it brings her through this dark, deep, twisty little path that makes her find out all these secrets about the government, or the delegation, I should say, and also her own family. And suddenly what's right has never been so wrong. And it's really promising in this idea that somebody who was the face of something so horrible, is absolution even possible? Or is it even something that she should be fighting for? Is it something that she deserves? I don't know. Nothing's official when you're the face of the oppressors, but it does promise a really, really good story. So there's no e-galley out for it yet, but it will be soon. So just keep an eye out for that one. That comes out all the way in October. So a lot of time to read.
Okay, Dark Objects by Simon Toyne. So Simon is the author of the internationally bestselling Sanctus trilogy. And he has worked in British television for more than 20 years. He's a writer, director, producer, several award-winning shows. He won a BAFTA. Check out his Facebook page because he does these really cool videos where he's like on the scene shooting things, or like even kind of cool little mini videos of like what he does for work. Like he has this video of him pulling a folder called Dark Objects away and then putting a new book down. He's like, I always keep a new folder on my computer. I don't know. It's just very like intriguing to me. So check out his Facebook page. But this book, I love the line, which is, how do you catch a killer if the victim doesn't exist? So in this book, a glamorous woman is murdered in her really, really crazy, luxurious London mansion. And then now her husband is also missing, but even weirder is, according to any public record, neither of them has ever existed. So the only leads the police have are these several objects that are arranged around the woman's body. And it includes like this set of keys and other things, but it's a book next to her called How to Process a Murder by Lawton Rees. And this book appears to have helped the killer forensically cleanse the crime scene. And so the author is an academic who doesn't work live cases, but now, and she has this traumatic past of the murder of her mother when she was a teenager. And she is like, that's not her thing. But now this presence of her book kind of draws her unwillingly to this high profile case. And there's a huge media circus around it because they're really rich. And she's getting closer to answers, but there's this like dangerous threat, but for her and her daughter, because as well as these memories of the past that she's having to bring up, the man who was blamed for her mother's death, her father, is the current Metropolitan Chief Commissioner. And so she has to talk to him. And so all these things are coming up, and like, why is her book at this crime scene? And very twisty. It's an unusual killer too. So you have that mystery there. This is one to put on your list. I'm super excited about it.
Lainey, thank you for listening. Lainey is, well, let me put it this way. If you're a fan of podcasts and audiobooks, and Julia Whalen, and who isn't, then this is the book for you. Thank you for listening. Is a paperback original, comes in library hardcover edition. This is the author of My Oxford Year. And this is a story about a former actress and an audiobook narrator who has lost sight of her dreams after a tragic accident. So this is this is like you write what you know, and Julia does just that. She draws on her years as one of the most awarded and acclaimed audiobook narrators in the business. We actually had her on, and I think the link is in the chat room, when we had her talking for Galley Club about The Measure, because she was the narrator for that book, and it's amazing. So you should definitely check that out, because she talks about this book. She also talks about narrating a book and what that is entailed. So what's entailed with that. So she's wonderful. And so I don't know, this is great for book clubs. It's about difficult topics, caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's. It's about an accident that changes the trajectory of somebody's life. But it's also sweet. And Lainey, do you wanna chime in? Because I know that you're such a fan.
Sure. Yeah, I love Julie Wayland. If you haven't read My Oxford Year, which was her first book, go read it, because it's so fabulous. It kind of straddles that line between like women's fiction and rom-com, and I think this one will too. She really is good at getting into the emotions. That one was very sad. I feel like you have to know. You welcome it. You're so excited it's a beautiful story, but it was pretty sad. And so when this one came, I emailed her editor. I was like, is it as sad as the other one? She was like, I promise it's not. And she's like, the sadness was welcomed, but this is not that sad. But if you haven't read My Oxford Year, you have to go read it. And Julia is so accomplished, and she knows this world. Like, not many books talk about the audiobook side of it, if they're going to dive into that. And I think that's going to be really interesting. Something I don't personally know very much about, except for that you eat green apples when you have to speak. But yeah, I'm very excited about it.
And if you want to know what that means, you should watch the video that's in the chat room. She's just lovely. And this book is great for book clubs, but it's a little bit of everything, a little rom-com, there's just so much to it. And you still will need a tissue or two, but probably not the whole box. Is that fair to say?
Well, that's the promise. But it's not that you don't want the sadness. Like, I'm not trying to deter. I loved it. It's very Me Before You, where it's like, what you're getting into, it's going to be sad, but it's well worth the ride.
Yeah, she's terrific. All right, what's next? Oh my God, who doesn't love Beverly Jenkins? She's just so wonderful. And my God, there's Beverly Jenkins, just, she's a librarian's dream. Let me tell you right now, I'm sure most of you already know who she is. She's had a long and storied career here, and loves libraries, and will let us know if you want her to come to your library, because we can make that happen virtually for sure, and in person. If it can work, we'll make it work. But this is also got a library, hardcover library edition. And this is the latest and the last in her Women Who Dare series, which is about a grifter who goes undercover to reclaim the stolen Declaration of Independence. So this is there are 3 books in the series. You don't need to have read the first or the second to enjoy the third. They all are standalones on their own.
They're so good. They're so good.
They're so good. She's such our authors are they're so smart. I mean, the research that they do is amazing. I mean, and Beverly Jenkins has won so many awards, Romance Writers of America Lifetime Achievement Award, the Romantic Times Reviewers Choice Award.
Can I point out that if you're looking for something after Bridgerton, which I just finished the 2nd season, if you handed them this book, they would see Julia Quinn and Shonda Land and be like, done. This is what I have to read next.
And Julia Quinn calls her a living legend. So there. The first book in the series is called Rebel. And this is the aftermath of the Civil War. And then the second book is called Wild Rain, which also received rave reviews from the Times, star reviews across the board. LJ Bookless Kirkus. I mean, this woman is genius, and she knows how to tell a good tale. So this is the third and the final in that series. And Beverly Jenkins for the win. That's all I'm going to say. Next.
Ooh, super fun. So this is Mission Vegan by Danny Bowen and with JJ Good. So Danny is the chef and co-founder of 3 restaurants, Mission Chinese in San Francisco, and there's one in New York, and then Mission Cantina in New York. And he's the author of the Mission Chinese Food Cookbook, and it's really known for, like, the restaurant and himself, they're really known for pushing the boundaries of cooking. So you really reshape the way we cook. And he's really known for a lot of meat on the menu, and that's where you go, but this is vegan, lady, and I get that. But he's really known for meat on the menu. But this is for what he made for all of the non-meat eating friends that would come visit the restaurant. And he would tell them that a lot of the menu is actually vegan and it's just not spotlighted. So you can still go even though meat is highlighted. And so pushing himself, he really made the restaurant evolve, and he had all of these new recipes, and he now can fill this whole cookbook. And we're very excited for all of your vegan friends. It's influenced by his Korean roots. The recipes are also a departure from those in the original cookbook in 2015. They're really fresh and inventive and accessible. So if you're a home cook and you don't know where to start, totally fine. And we hope this will really fill the gaps in the market for something with a lot of great flavor. Photos I've heard are very fun and whimsical and colorful, as you can see on this, but the inside's going to be the same. It's really great and a fun new direction for the Mission team. And you can follow him on Instagram and see all of the delicious food that they're cooking, because, well, maybe don't do it when you're hungry, but it's really great. And you guys wanted more cookbooks, so I wanted to throw a cookbook in there, and let us know if we're missing anything else you want to hear about.
Okay, The House Party by Rita Camerm. This goes on sale September 13th. First things first, I wanted to just look at the cover for a moment. I really appreciated the art design that they decided to go with. This broken glass, shattered illusion of perfection, a suburban town and suburban dreams, just fractured. So I thought that was really great. Well, great to fit the theme, not necessarily great overall. Starting with the story, this is a story about Maya Jensen, a woman who seemingly has it all together. She's the one that you look at and you kind of feel bad about yourself, because you just have human flaws. Not even that there's anything wrong with you, you're not perfect. She's smart and she's stylish, and she's so finely tuned to the details of her own life. And that's because the more that she has to focus on, the less that she has to focus on her problems. She's building her dream house literally inch by inch, and she's doing this because she's hoping that it'll keep her distracted from the fact that she can't have a baby, or from the fact that her marriage is kind of falling apart. But this new home, while it equals a new future, and that's what she's counting on, it kind of gets destroyed when one night, just one party that was supposed to be the party of the year, the graduation party. This was supposed to be the greatest night of everyone's life before they go off to set off their own lives. It turned into a nightmare. These reckless teenagers, trash her newly built home just weeks before she's about to move in. And aside from ruining her life, they also ruin their own in a way. These teenagers were the good kids. They came from good homes. They were supposed to be going on to good schools. And as the police tend to close in on, or as they start to close in on a list of suspects that they're all focusing on, these families that were supposed to be super close in this very close-knit, tight little community that they had, start turning on each other in an effort to protect their own. So yeah, what was supposed to be a really great night turned into an absolute nightmare that put Maya's marriage on the brink and divided a town completely over privilege and responsibility. I wanted to read a couple of paragraphs from the e-galley that is available for this title, but they made it so that I had to keep reading, but we all ultimately decided that it might make people a little too uncomfortable. And that's just a bit into the first chapter. And I would have to say that there is a trigger warning for sexual assault. I was not expecting it. I was expecting more of a thriller suspense type read, admittedly, when I saw the cover and when I saw the title, and it It's actually more in the vein of When We Were Bright and Beautiful. So maybe it's not something to read out loud, and it's definitely something that you want to know what you're getting into, but it's still unfortunately an important read. And it's very candid, but respectful about the subject matter that it discusses. And that's why I wanted to read those few paragraphs to begin with. The first chapter is just a really excellent setup, and it's told through multiple points of view, as this kind of story should be told. And I will just leave it at that and leave the rest to you. It is in our A Device collection that I made, so I'll put a link to that in the comments.
All righty. And I don't know if I'm the last one. I don't know if this is the last title, but regardless. So this is We Carry Their Bones by Erin Kimmerly, who is a forensic anthropologist. And this is her story of the notorious Dozier Boys School. This is the true story behind the Pulitzer Prize winning novel by Colson Whitehead, The Nickel Boys. And this is about the process to exhume the graves of the boys that were buried there in order to reunite them with their families. So the Arthur G. Dozier Boys School was this well-regarded secret in Florida for over a century. And their untold reports started, to be, people were making reports about cruelty and abuse and unexplained deaths. That shut the institution down in 2011. That school was established in 1900, and it was a juvenile reform school that accepted kids as young as 5 years old for some of the, crimes like harmless things like truancy and trespassing. And many of these children, these boys, were Black. And they were subject to abuse and just horrific stuff. I'm sure you know about it, because I'm sure everybody out there has read The Nickel Boys. But many of them died at the school or when they attempted to escape. And so in the wake of the school's shutdown, the author, Erin Kimmerly, stepped in to investigate the school's graveyard to determine the number of graves and begin the process of reuniting the boys with their families, their ancestors. Of course, the school had, lowballed the number, saying it was like 31 boys that had died, and actually it was more like twice that. And as her work she became more involved with the work of this, the process of exhuming and reuniting these the remains of these children with their families. That didn't go unnoticed, and that was not very popular. And so local law enforcement tried to obstruct the efforts and to suppress the truth. And so this is that book, We Carry Their Bones. It's a Jim Crow America, and it's indictment of this reform school. And it's a dive into, the very fascinating science of forensic anthropology, but more importantly, the retelling of the extraordinary efforts that were taken to bring these lost children home to their families. There have been documentaries made, at least 4 novels made about this, but no one's told the full story until this book. And so even Colson Whitehead, as I say, Pulitzer Prize winning author of The Nickel Boys and The Underground Railroad, says, in a corrupt world, Erin Kimmerly's unflinching revelations are as close as will come to justice. So, important book, and I hope that if you need a copy, let us know. We Carry Their Bones. So important. And are we done? Do we have any more?
I think that was it.
That was it. And it's 3:01. Even with our long countdown, we're almost on time. Do we have anything else we want to say?
Joe Jones pointed out that he's excited for cookbooks and looking for a new recipe, so that's good. And I made a pun, but it stands. I said, if you're craving anything else, let us know. But really,
nice.
But really, truly, tell me. I want to know what we can bring to you. So if there's anything where you're like, I would like more, I don't know, specific kind of romance, let us know.
Yeah, seriously. We're doing the work anyway. We want to bring you what you want, what's helpful to you. So please don't be shy. And again, next week, next Tuesday, you'll meet the author of our latest Galley Club book, More Than You'll Ever Know by Kitty Gutierrez. What?
Well, it'd be 2 weeks.
What did I say? The author, the editor, and then the following week you'll meet the author. And then going forward with the next selection, you'll have a little bit more time to read the book. I don't know. Somebody said there's other publishers than in addition to Harper, which I don't know. That seems like a wacky rumor. I mean, let's face it, HarperCollins, yay. All right, we know you have to read other books. Again, all this fun, really cool stuff and speeches and from PLA are up on Library Love Fest, or will be by, I don't know, tomorrow. And if anything we've talked about today piques your interest, let us know, and do let us know what you want to hear more about, and we will change direction because we're here to help. That's it. So you need more time to read? Check. You want to know more about cookbooks? Check. Whatever you need, we got it. Just don't have a pastrami on rye. What?
It's National Library Week, and we have the honorary chair.
Bum, ba, 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 ba.
Yeah,
Molly Shannon. Hello, Molly. Well, hello, Molly. Thank you for pointing that out, National Chairperson, for National Library Week. So yes, Molly. Hello, Molly. We're thrilled to have that book on our list. Molly Shannon, she spoke at LLX. Was interviewed by Cynthia D. Sweeney and did an amazing job. And yeah, just so that's an intense book. That is not what you think it's going to be. Trust. So get a copy and read it because it's out. We just saw it for the first time at PLA. All we've seen is galleys, and it was like, oh my God, it's a thing. So exciting.
Yeah.
Got a heck of a story. She's really something.
Yeah. And yeah, very excited. We posted her quote. Her mother was the librarian, so go check that out. And then the only pressing question before we go is somebody wants to know, Amy, Virginia, what is your setup behind you? And Ravella says gnomes. I'm a gnome freak. Loves gnomes.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Well, first of all, over this shoulder is Willie Lawton, and if I want to read it again, I have another copy. On this, these are my gnomes. Well, so this is a little house that has little incense in it, and then when you burn it, the smoke comes out the chimney. Except my wife doesn't like the smell, so I don't burn it. Killjoy. Then we have these gnomes, and this is Jennifer Winberry from Hunterton Library. I don't even know if she's
there.
Yep. Is she Jennifer? It's funny, Jennifer, I don't believe you've ever noticed that I got my drunken gnomes because of you, because she got these drunken gnomes. Am I showing the dirty one? I might be. So I'll show him from the back. He's urinating. He's right. Anyway, they're holding bottles of beer around a fireplace. This guy's loaded and passed out, and I think they're the funniest things. And Jennifer Berry turned me on to this, so I ordered them right away, and I love them. And these are my fake trees. So it's like a little forest. They're plastics. I don't have to water them. That's my background. Thank you for noticing. Are there any other questions?
That was the most important. There's no more questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. You're the best. I think that's it, you guys. Very cool. Well, we hope to see you next Tuesday. And until then, be safe, be well, and happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.